Play the theme song.
We don't have one. So, shut up. You talk a bit louder.
Oh, all right. I'm talking louder. Still waiting for the theme song.
You're barely coming up on the audio, Dad.
Where's the microphone?
Guess it's on my side. Let's put it a bit into the middle.
Okay. Is that better?
Yeah. Look at that. Wave files are about the same.
I see squiggly lines. I don't know what's what.
I'll take your word for it. You are a musical artist.
This is...
And you don't know anything.
A podcast about...
Well, since Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is coming out, we are going to talk about the Planet of the Apes franchise, well, how it started, and then just kind of go through it. And then
like the reboot or the whole shebang?
The whole shebang.
The whole shebang, going way back before you were born.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, you want to introduce yourself? You are my father.
I am Dylan's father, and this is Dylan.
Hi, this is my channel.
Which is called?
You don't know the channel name?
I don't know which channel you're using. Is it the Flaming Gamer one?
That was the way old one before I knew what that meant.
Oh, okay.
Critical Co-op.
I'm so glad you got rid of that.
So let us open up the Wikipedia page. So the original movie was back in 1968, before you were even born.
That is before I was born. And the sequel was before I was born.
Yeah, but let's go back to the original first.
All right.
That was based off the book called Planet of the Apes.
Pierre Bouillet.
When was that released?
The book?
Yeah.
Before 1968. Now, okay, so the book is told from the perspective of these two astronauts that find a sort of message in a bottle in outer space. And they're reading this account of another astronaut that has come across a planet of apes.
So it's like World War Z? Before World War Z?
No, because that's told from the perspective of the survivors.
So.
And this is...
And the book, I know, has the apes using cars and planes and technology, aside from guns.
It's been a while since I read it, and I don't actually remember if there was that.
Okay.
But there is a ta-dum-dum at the end of that book that's different than any of the movies.
In the movies?
Yeah.
Well, we're going full spoilers with this.
All right, full spoilers.
Except for the book, because I haven't read the book for the movies. I mean, 2 weeks is usually the end of the spoiler period for most channels.
This has been almost 50 years.
Well, I haven't read the book, so who cares about all the other people? I intend on reading the book soon. Go ahead.
Right.
Just spoil the ending for the book.
You sure?
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay, well, you're reading this book, and from the perspective of the astronauts reading the message in a bottle.
Apes?
See? It wasn't that hard to figure out. Yes, they're monkeys, actually. Because I think that... no, they're monkeys because they actually are doing stuff with their tails and everything. So there's a planet of apes, but there's space monkeys. The monkeys were able to ride a spaceship. I could be wrong about that.
Shut up, Contagion.
Who's Contagion?
It's a Steam group.
Are we gonna catch something?
No, it's a Steam group that I follow.
You kids and your groups.
Anyway, so now let's talk about the movie with Charlton Heston and Roddy McDowall, the only two people to me that matter in those movies.
Of course, just the men. It's not like there's any chicks in it.
Who plays Nova?
I don't know.
Who plays...
Okay, so...
the women never play that big of a role.
Oh, actually, the
last
female...
one, maybe.
No. The female is
Apes.
a noted scientist in her world.
Yeah.
But chimps are sort of dominated by the orangutans and the
orangutans
gorillas.
are
the orangutans are the wisdom elite.
The gorillas are the more brutes. They're the war generals and stuff.
The militant types, yeah.
And then chimpanzees.
So they're the muscle. The chimpanzees are the brains and development.
There's going to be a Planet of the Apes movie eventually where the chimpanzee, it's going to be called Planet of the Chimpanzees. They're going to take over all the other apes and going to make them slaves.
You pulled that right out of your butt.
There better
That's
be.
not true at all.
I know. I'm just saying that there's gonna be someday because
There's going to be a Planet Hulk before there's going to be a Planet Chimpanzee.
with
Make that face all you like. You can't see that in podcast land, but he's making faces, and it's really disrespectful.
with Dawn of the Planet of the Apes coming out, it wouldn't surprise me if Asylum Films came out with Planet of the Chimpanzees.
You can start working on that anytime. So,
So
Charlton Heston lands naked
he's not
on
naked.
the planet. Well, he goes swimming, and the monkeys steal his clothes, and
No, the humans
they
steal their
can't tell
clothes.
that they're smart humans. They think that they're dumb humans. They get captured. A couple of them get shot and killed. Well, the only woman on the voyage didn't survive the voyage, so they had this whole plan of creating a new Eden with 3 astronauts and 1 woman.
If you don't count the woman, the black guy dies first.
Well, yeah.
Was that the first movie to introduce that?
No, I doubt it. Women and minorities were fodder to just, jump in front of guns and cars and all kinds of stuff. Be eaten by zombies and...
Okay, go on.
Okay, so they get captured. Charlton Heston gets shot in the throat, but he survives that. But he can't tell anybody that he's smart. So they put him in a cell with a female, and she digs him. He's not all into that. Nova.
Okay. I want you all to know that I'm making him say the synopsis of, well, not read it directly from the Wikipedia, but give his own synopsis of each film because he doesn't remember the other 4 in the original series.
He thinks it's funny to see me struggle with my memory.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
he's getting old.
Not that old. So then he's finally able to steal a pad of paper and write something out, and the apes think it's a neat trick. He eventually proves that he's got the power of speech and all that when the damn dirty apes get a hold of him, and he doesn't like it.
Okay.
He says, "Get your paws off me, you damn dirty apes." And they all stop and shot. And then that's usually the great place for a commercial break whenever they're showing it on TV.
Oh, that's whenever it always happens.
Yeah. Well, there's that big pause where there's the reaction shot of everybody standing. Everything just kind of stops at that point, and that's really distracting.
I know.
Why does it do that?
I don't know.
Okay, the screen flashes from orange to white, and
anyway, don't forget the flimsy armed throwing chimpanzees and stuff. Like whenever they're throwing rocks at.
Oh yeah, like that would really hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So then they figure out that well, then this other human that we captured must also have the power of speech and all that, but by the time Charlton Heston finds him, they've lobotomized him, so Charlton Heston is the last smart-talking man on the planet.
That ends up being...
Well, and then he gets Cornelius and his wife to help him and Nova escape.
I love how we can't remember Cornelius's
what's her name?
wife.
We got it over. Okay. So he's going to cheat and look on the screen, since his memory is no better than an old man's.
Is it a new tab?
Is it?
Sometimes it is.
He prides himself on being a junkie and knowing everything.
I'm nicer than you sometimes. No. Zira. See, it's a stupid name. That's why we... Yeah, it is.
That is a wonderful name.
That is a stupid name. That's why we can't remember it.
It's fantastic.
No one likes that name.
There just aren't that many names with Z.
Dr. Zaius is the main orangutan. Yeah. Who's basically the villain of the film.
Well, Zaius is also the name of the orangutan in the reboot, or the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Yeah.
I thought it was something else.
No, Zaius.
Because one of the...
And if I'm wrong, we welcome your letters and emails. Thank you.
Well, we'll get to Rise of the Planet of the Apes later.
We're working our way up slowly. So they help him escape. They get to the beach. Zaius says that he knows what's up, and you humans, you've wrecked everything, and that's when Charlton Heston caused war, killed things, and did all this, and so we reclaimed our planet. And that's when Charlton Heston, in the final scene, sees the Statue of Liberty buried up to her armpit in the beach, and he says, "You crazy bastards! You destroyed it all, or you blew it all to hell." Whatever he says. Anyway, he drops to his knees, shakes his fist in the air, and he's pretty miserable.
So, what do you think of the film?
Well, I mean, it's definitely a groundbreaking film. I was surprised how well it held up. You know, other than the prosthetics and everything, which are still not, they're not that distracting from the movie. You accept it for what
4 years ago, I thought, which was the first time I saw it 4 years ago, I thought it was boring, but somehow in 4 years I've matured enough to go, wow, that's actually a really good film. So, what do you think?
You've grown to enjoy movies with talking apes in it. It was something that a child couldn't really appreciate until it matured to the point that, you know, these simians with language, that's something I could get into.
So, what do you think it got on Rotten Tomatoes?
On Rotten Tomatoes?
Mm-hmm. They go by percentage.
Oh, I have no idea.
Don't
no
look,
idea how Rotten
because
Tomatoes
you
looks.
might get a look at some of the others.
Yeah.
It got an 89%.
So they throw 89% of tomatoes at it, or is that an approval?
That's a good thing.
So higher is better.
Yes.
With Rotten Tomatoes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, yeah. I think that stands. I'd be curious to see
I would
how.
say 8.9. Yeah, it's a solid 8.5 or something like that for me.
Yeah.
So, Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Wow.
It's the worst in the franchise.
I don't know that it's the worst, but it was certainly the most heavy-handed with their social commentary
And acting. It's Doomsday.
Yeah.
Boom.
Okay.
Okay, go through the story.
I don't really remember how it starts.
So, as soon as he's done, not bawling, but, crying to the heavens and yelling at the Statue of Liberty up to its armpit in sand, he gets right back on the horse with Nova, who doesn't really care anymore and keeps on riding. And then
But he took Nova with him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, not
no,
completely heartless.
No, I'm just saying
that. Man, after all.
Yeah, he doesn't care anymore, though. He doesn't. It's like as if
he's trying to adapt to the world that he's in.
It's like, you maniacs! All right, let's go. And then he rides off. There's
all these sit there and scream.
The earth is shattering in half. There's lightning in front of them. There's like a fire tornado or something. He gets off he sees the rock shimmering, and that's what sets him off. And he gets off the horse, and he has a gun. He got a gun from Dr. Zayas and all the other people, and then he tries to hit it, and then he disappears, and Nova's like,
bunga, 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 and she runs away.
She can't talk. I was, acting like a maniac.
And it wasn't for lack of effort. Charlton Heston was trying like hell to get her to learn something, anything, and she just could not catch on.
I just remember the ending. And she says a line in the entire movie, and then dies. She said, Taylor! Bam!
Well, it wasn't all for nothing, was it?
They didn't bang. It was all for nothing.
Isn't this like a PG podcast?
No.
I can watch what you're saying. Oh my god, he's talking that way in front of his old man.
Oh, God, who cares? Maybe it was a bad idea turning off the fan for sound quality. I'm getting pretty warm over here. So, yeah. And it's basically a rerun of the first one from then on with a new astronaut whose name we can't remember. And we're not
right, they sent a rescue team to go...
Of two people.
Two people.
One died on impact.
Because even though they were doing travel way into the future, they somehow figured out, they must be in trouble, and sent another ship after them. Not having any way to know that they were actually in any trouble.
It was probably like 4 years later or something. Like, where the heck are these people? And they sent
or maybe there was a mission to just send two ships. No more. Just the two. And there
One
still
with
weren't
4
any
people,
women on it.
And the other with 2 people, and the other guy dies.
So they were planning on that first one being really busy to help repopulate wherever they go. Because it's a one-way trip. You know they're not coming back.
It's like it would take
especially the way they land.
It would take 7 years for each dude to be done with her, basically, and get 1 round of babies out.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
I'm just saying. Anyway, so
really?
it's a rerun of the first movie, basically, because instead of getting captured in this one, he instead makes it more sneakily, and there's this whole buildup of a war between this unknown force and the apes. And Nova and the other astronaut goes into the New York subways, which is whenever he realizes that he's on planet Earth, the other astronaut, and he goes, oh, hey, I'm on Earth. He doesn't take it nearly as hammy as Charlton Heston did.
Well, who would?
Taylor. Charlton Heston. And then they go walking through, and then finds water, because they're both, like, dying of dehydration. And they both drink from this little water, like, fountain thing.
And freak out.
And then something suddenly is taking over him, and he decides to try to drown her. And then stops himself, eventually. And then they open the doors, and there's these psychic, telepathic, communicating mutants that worship a nuclear bomb.
Big gold nuclear bomb. It was gold, wasn't it?
It was a nuclear bomb of pips, as the Rooster Teeth podcast would say.
Okay. No name dropping here. This is your podcast. You don't need to push somebody else's name just for recognition.
Shh, I can add their name to the tags now.
Oh, I get it.
Get more hits.
All right. Coattails. All right. Yes, so there's this big...
Gareth Edwards. Batman on Batman. Kevin Smith.
All right. All the apes in this were normal size. There were no gigantic monkeys or anything in this movie, so let's not drop monster names, okay? Talking about Gareth Edwards, not Kevin Smith. The nuclear
that'd be
warhead
awesome if
turns
Gareth
out
Edwards directed the next Planet of the Apes. Anyway,
be
it's
active.
Active. It's still active after hundreds of years.
Thousands
of years.
Possibly.
Yes, because it's been like 2,000 years, because it's the year 3000 and something.
That would only be 1,000 years. It's 2,000 something now.
Back then. It was like the year 3000.
It's only 40 years ago.
It was like 3,500 and something. It's close enough to 2,000 years. I'm rounding up.
40 more years.
I'm rounding up.
You can't round 1,000
up. I'm rounding up. Shut up. Let me continue with the story.
I've got something to say.
So, these mutants that can speak telepathically then are having their daily mass in front of the bomb, and then they all take off their faces. And they have these veiny, like, blue veiny, muscular faces.
Yeah.
And then the apes break in, start killing all of them. They start killing the apes.
Because they got superior technology.
Oh, and then while they're in the prison, while the apes are getting ready to attack, the other astronaut finds Taylor, Charlton Heston.
And he is dressed sharp. He's got a white suit, no shirt, no shoes, and just he's in the picture of health, and he's a physical specimen.
And then they force each other to kill each other, basically. They start
fighting.
Yeah, it's like a video game for those two other people, because they are mind controlling both of them.
Right.
I like the idea that sometime in the future...
You would only hope that on your best day, you could look as sharp as Charlton Heston looked at that moment, being in prison for God knows how long.
That's what you're stuck on. You're stuck on
I didn't get to finish my thought. Just like 40 doesn't round up to 2,000, Charlton Heston looked really sharp in that moment. He was well taken care of. Those blue vein weirdos.
1970. Hold on. Let's go back to the 40s thing.
They really knew style, and they knew how to dress a guy that had skin.
Okay, let's go back to that whole 40 rounds to 2000. This was in 1970, assuming that Taylor and the other dude are from the year 1970, which that is true because in the next film they do time travel. That means the year 3,500 and something if you judge from the clock in the first movie that's on the ship. That means it's been around 2,000 years.
Well done. Okay. Yeah. Nothing like getting stuck on a subject.
You're the one that brought it back up.
So they fight, but they somehow figure out they shouldn't be fighting and they should be friends.
What ends up happening is, I think,
or Nova gets tossed in there too, doesn't she? And then they end up going, "Oh, we don't want to fight in front of Nova."
No, I think what ends up happening is actually only one of. I think Charlton Heston was taken over, and what happens is he ducks. The other astronaut ducks, and while Charlton Heston has one of those spike things and stabs the psychic dude. And then they get out of the prison somehow, and then there's guns all over the place being shot from the apes and the other. They are mutated humans. I want to know when we're going to be able to get the ability to. Why is it the nuclear? I can't say that word. Why can't the
nuclear?
And why can't the atomic bomb worshiper people? Why do they get the power to control minds after all these years, and the humans above ground end up not
reverting back?
There was something that happened there.
They reverted back several species.
They took the Hicks, kept them upstairs. All the scientists went downstairs.
That's like saying the doomsdayers that are building shelters and stuff in their backyards are the ones that are going to inherit the earth.
Oh, God help us all.
They're going to have the bomb. They're going to have technology. Their complexion's going to be shot. It's going to be terrible.
But they can control people with their minds.
They can control people with their minds somehow. Yeah, that's...
When did they learn that?
Well, they had 2,000 years to figure it out.
We're going to get to that also in Battle of the Planet of the Apes. We need to move on. So, yeah, basically what ends up happening is that there's all this gun firing happening.
Somewhere in there, Cornelius and Zia...
No, they don't. Zyra. And they don't explain that in the second movie.
Okay.
That's a Deus.
Right. You've got to pretend at some point they see the spaceship and are trying to figure out how it works. Even though that's not actually in the movie. Because then Escape from the Planet of the Apes starts out
we're still underneath. We're still underneath. We have to talk about the depressing ending.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, what happens... Hold on. What happens is the new astronaut is killed immediately. Charlton Heston is shot 5 times in the chest. Nova goes, Taylor gets shot in the throat and dies, or something like that. Then Taylor is like, it's doomsday, hits these crystals, sets off the bomb, and then there's this very somber, that's the right word, somber, I can't think of the word. Morgan Freeman.
Voiceover?
Voiceover, there we go.
Voiceovers are now referred to as Morgan Freeman.
You voiced a couple Penguin documentaries.
And that's when Charlton Heston ended the world.
Pretty much, that's what it says.
There's got to be a clip out there of him going, "It's doomsday."
Oh, there is.
And he doesn't just push the button. It's the big Y. He has his hands.
He's holding all the wounds that are bleeding profusely, and he's like, "It's doomsday!" Falls dramatically, crawls in and smacks it.
Yeah, I've never seen a button get pushed in a more hammy way than only Charlton Heston could do that.
He's the best actor for B movies. It's a shame he died. He would be great in Sharknado.
We can mention him again when we talk about the Tim Burton remake.
All right, so hold on. Again, we're going with the Rotten Tomatoes thing. What do you think the second movie got?
I can't imagine it would get as much as the original Planet of the Apes, just because it's so freaking weird. And there's just the people underground are just inexplicable. There's no sensible reason to buy into that part of the storyline, and it's just a really heavy-handed social message about social classes and things like that.
So
I'm gonna say 6.5.
60%, 65%,
6.5.
Well, no percents. 41%.
Oh wow!
It wasn't that bad. To me, it's the worst in the original series.
I gotta rethink the Rotten Tomatoes though, because I was imagining there'd be more stoners that were participating in this. And there's no way. There's no way that you could have an altered mind and watch Beneath Planet of the Apes and not be touched in some way.
Rotten Tomatoes is the internet's. If that movie gets lower than a 50%, it bombed. If it is like a 10%, like After Earth was, you don't even think.
But it's got nothing to do with sales or anything. This is internet opinion.
It's not even. It's like it's a specific. It's a group of votes, but at the same time, it's like specific people's votes.
Who are these specific people?
I don't know.
And why aren't they smoking more weed?
Why do you want them to?
I was assuming that they did. I mean, they're sitting around eating Rotten Tomatoes, watching movies all
They're
day
not
long.
eating Rotten Tomatoes. Originally, the system was that the higher the rating, the worse it was. But then people got confused, so they were like, you know what, whatever. No, it's the higher the rating, the better the movie was.
All right, I get a feeling this is...
Now the internet's basically... If the movie is 90%... I'm sorry. If the movie is 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, it's a great film across the internet. If the movie is 1% on Rotten Tomatoes, it's an After Earth.
Okay.
If the movie is 50%, it's Man of Steel.
A subject for a separate podcast where you teach me
Internet.
Okay.
All right. Third movie.
The world ends, and so then of course we get another sequel,
which came out in 1971.
Well, they're cranking them out.
Yeah, they became Toho and started cranking out a movie a year. Until the fifth one.
That's a metaphor. Toho didn't literally start making Planet of the Apes.
No.
Okay. That was...
Toho! I want to see a movie,
expand on that.
Godzilla versus Planet of the Apes. Godzilla on the Planet of the Apes.
So, Escape from the Planet of the Apes opens...
King Kong makes sense now. Okay, go ahead.
May I?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Opens with an American spacecraft washing on shore, and regular-looking people... By regular-looking people, I mean humans, suits, FBI, government agency, the official-type-looking people, modern-day people for 1971, walking onto the beach, surrounding this spacecraft, and these astronauts step out, and their faces are all hidden by their helmets and stuff, and one by one, there's three of them, of course, and this time, the female doesn't die, except... When they take their helmets off, you stepped all over my punchline there.
We should do podcasts with you and you more often. Who cares about Sheldon? You were made for podcasts with me. Or technically, I was made for podcasts with you. I don't think I did
anything to really deserve that.
Anyway, they're apes. It is Cornelius, played by... what's his face again? Roddy McDowell. I forgot his name for some reason.
No, that's not him.
The one guy who was in every single Planet of the Apes movie in the original series.
I always get Roddy McDowell and John Stewart Hurt. The guy that was the lawn master.
They do kind of look alike. I know who John Hurt is.
Okay.
He's in Doctor Who this season. That we haven't gotten to the episode.
But isn't there also an American John Hurt? What's his name?
There's an actor called John Hurt, but he's American.
There's an American John Hurt, and then there's the English John Hurt.
I have no clue what you're talking about right now. Let's continue. There is Cornelius. There is Zira.
He played General
There's
Ross.
Zira.
He played General Ross in the Ang Lee Hulk movie.
I don't care about the Ang Lee Hulk movie right now. We're talking about Planet of the Apes.
I'm trying to talk
We
about
are talking about Planet of the Apes. We are going to get this under at least 2 hours. And we are already... I can't find my mouse. We are already half an hour through, and we've only made it through 2 movies. We are continuing.
We're on the
Escape from the Planet of the Apes. There are 3 apes that come out of the spaceship. It is Cornelius, it is Dr. Zira, and some other ape that has not been in any of the other movies. And it doesn't matter, because he ends up dying from another captive gorilla.
You know, if you keep up with this tone, I'm going to ground you.
If I keep up with this tone, my voice won't be prepared for the...
So that other diversion was because I confused John Hurt with the other guy, Malcolm McDowell. Roddy McDowell. Who lives.
Continue.
So they take them to a jail, much like they took Taylor in the first movie.
It's reversal of roles, basically.
That's a very accurate description of that. And they are studying them. They have them doing tricks and everything.
They made like a pact. The 3 of them were like, we're not gonna talk. Well, they're gonna know that we figured out how to use a spaceship, but we're not gonna talk.
Yeah. We figured out how to put on astronaut uniforms and stand there and not try to pick...
And smile.
And not pick gnats off of each other in front of them. Our hair is brushed. We have clothing.
And then they're holding a purse. And then they have to do this little stair-step thing. And Zira walks up the stairs. There's a banana hanging at the top of it. And she just sits and looks at it. And the female doctor, human lady, goes, why doesn't she take the banana? And then, for comedic purposes, she finally talks and goes, because I hate bananas or loathe bananas.
I abhor bananas.
Yeah, all proper in English, like, even though she's American. No, she's pretty British sounding. Anyway, so yeah, and then...
So then everybody freaks out, and that's that again. You get the gape mouths and the chocolates and everything, and when it's shown on TV, that's where they put the commercial break.
And then what happens is they become basically world famous stars.
They get caught up in the whole celebrity thing.
And then this jerk doctor wants to get secrets because he knows that they're from the future, because they've said that they're from the future. He wants to get secrets about the future from one of them. So while Cornelius is out and about, I already said that the 3rd ape guy is killed by a gorilla in the jail. He's there for no other purpose than to be like, there's 3 crew members. Anyway, so
but this time the female lives.
Yeah. So she's sitting there and living the party life, and you also find out that she's pregnant while she's at a museum and sees a stuffed gorilla and passes out. And then she goes, it's not because of the shock, it's because I'm pregnant. I feel like if I saw one of my kind stuffed inside of a thing, I wouldn't say, it's because I'm pregnant, it's because I have the shock.
That would be a totally separate news story altogether if you became pregnant.
Okay, if I was in her situation, how about that?
Still would be scientific news.
If I was a female. Okay. So, anyway, what happens is she's home alone because Cornelius is out doing something, and the doctor, evil doctor, Mwahaha, gives her wine and gets her drunk. And then, it was a truth serum, and how he gave it to her was to get her drunk first. There was wine involved.
He described the effects as being, because the first time she had wine, she said, they say it's made from grapes, and she tastes it, and they were asking her what she likes, and she drinks the wine, and she makes a yummy sound, says, grapes. So when it comes time to take this truth serum and do her testimony, the guy that is sort of reassuring her says, it will feel like when you drink grapes.
It wasn't testimony. What happened was the guy got her alone, creepily, and put a recorder next to her, and she basically explains that the humans basically mess themselves up, and the apes take over. It is heavily implied in the original series that the apes are a result from nuclear radiation.
Yeah, and the question that comes back to haunt her is if she studied humans, and she begins to say, I dissected many, but she stops herself and says she studied many humans, and later on they're trying to play up the fact, or trying to make the impression that these apes are a threat and they need to be eliminated.
Especially since one's pregnant, and that means they can breed.
Apes, yeah, you can't let these 3 apes run wild; they'll take over the world. And so, but that tape becomes part of the testimony against her, and they play the part where she says dissect, 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 and they play that over and over again.
And then they go on the lam after they are tried to be killed from shots. Roddy McDowall kills his first person in the entire series. And Zira kisses her second human. And Roddy McDowall kisses his first human. And because they make a big deal about it.
It's starting to open up.
There's a lot of bestiality in these films.
But which way is the bestiality going?
I know. Because the humans are fine with it, though. They're like, ooh, yeah, okay. They don't care. Anyway, and it's right in front of them. And it's right in front of each other, and they're married in both of the films that they do this. It's weird. Apes have a different marriage system, obviously. She runs away.
As long as it's another species, it's not cheating.
And Khan is... Yeah, Khan's in the movie.
Oh, yeah,
he is a carnival master dude.
Ricardo Montalban.
Yeah.
He's got a carnival, and he's going to hide them as circus apes and take them on the road.
They don't look like regular apes. Anyway, they give birth to their baby. That is an actual chimpanzee in the movie.
Yeah.
And then there's another chimpanzee that also has a baby. Foreshadowing. And then they're like, hi, look at our baby.
So, yeah, so they have play dates and make coffee clutch and all that. And so they let their little ape babies play together and everything. But then they get found. They get found and they have to run for their lives. And everybody dies. Well, everybody that's a monkey dies. Except...
Hold on. We need to explain this further. If this movie was released today, this would be an R-rated movie for subject matter alone on the ending. First off, Cornelius' character is shot by the evil doctor, and he falls like from a story, yet is still able to crawl to Zira, who is then also shot while carrying her baby, quotation marks, and she dies, and then the guy shoots the baby 7 times in a row, and then they all crawl and die as a family together. But you do not show an ape being shot 7 times. This was a G-rated film, mind you. Conquest of the Planet of the Apes was PG. What was more violent in Conquest of the Planet of the Apes than a baby being shot 7 times?
Humans getting killed. Riots against humans.
Rating systems are stupid.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're pretty arbitrary. But the rating system, here's another podcast for another time. The rating systems back then were a lot different than they are now.
Anyway, so then it's revealed that they switched out the baby.
Why is that blink?
I seriously don't know.
Right.
It's done that since the beginning of time. So you come to find out that they switched their baby with the other chimpanzee baby. So they kidnapped the actual chimpanzee's baby and had it killed.
The very last scene is this.
I just realized this. My God, they are the worst parents ever.
The last scene is the chimpanzee left in the cage with a sort of distressed look on her face, looking down at this
His face,
looking down at this mutant baby that she has really nothing in common with, and the baby looks out at the camera and says, "Mama."
and then it's like a cut, and like they redo it a ton of times, and like shaking back and forth, and it's obvious it's just a replay.
The first 3 movies have disturbing and morbid endings.
The third one has the most hopeful ending so far, though, because the child at least survives. One of the children survives.
Yes, one of the mutant apes that are supposed to take over the world survives.
You root for the mutant apes in this one, though.
Well, you do.
You kind of root for the apes in the second one,
but
also.
It's also.
You don't root for anyone in the second one. They're all jerks. Even the humans are jerks. The humans end up blowing up the Earth.
Yeah.
So,
what
do you think this one got?
It's got to be better than Beneath Planet of the Apes.
Did you like it?
Yeah.
I really liked it also. Let's go see what it got. 78%.
There you go. Yeah, and I don't think anything's going to... Well, until we get into the reboot, I wouldn't expect anything to surpass the original Planet of the Apes.
So, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, Caesar, foreshadowing for the reboot series, kind of. Caesar is a ape that can talk, a bit more hunched over than his parents, of course, because he's been raised by other chimpanzees.
He's also pretending.
That too, but he's always hunched over throughout most of the franchise, even the fifth one. And he's all like, ooh, I'm totally not a talking ape, oops, because he does end up revealing that he talks, and then Khan is arrested.
In the movie, I think his name was Ronaldo, right? You can find that out real quick.
No, we need to get through this quick.
Okay, Ricardo Montalban.
He is then taken away because they think that he has the mutant ape from 30 years ago or whatever. It's the year 1990 something, so 20 years ago. And it's like this futuristic world where a pandemic has... Where are you going? Why are you making me explain this?
I didn't say anything when you were...
Ow! He just flicked me. He's mean. So what ends up happening is, what happened? Caesar is then taken into custody in a world where this pandemic has killed all the cats and dogs. They decide to make apes slaves. And how they
cats and dogs buried in mass graves, mass hysteria. Monkeys are now pets.
Apes.
Apes are now pets.
But what I don't understand is like, oh, we need something to replace our pets, but we're gonna make them slaves also.
If dogs and cats had opposable thumbs, there is no end to the bullshit we make them do.
Very true. Anyway, so there's like this boot camp for the apes where they're forcing them to go through like rigorous training exercises of cleaning.
And was there shock collars or something?
Yeah, there were shock collars. There's people standing around with things, cow prodders. And my question is that these are all, of course, people in suits. So they're smaller than regular humans in the movie because everyone's crouching down. But there's gorillas in this scenario. Actual gorillas would mess you up. They don't care if you got a shock collar on them. A gorilla would rip that off and then smash it in your face.
I think they're not quite as violent as you think.
If you're shocking them, making them do chores, they would smash those things in.
But we're led to believe that these are already domesticated. They weren't captured from the wild, but they
20 years to domesticate. 20 years.
It's a stretch.
Yeah, it's a stretch. Whatever.
So we've got a compression of evolution.
So what ends up happening is Khan is killed. No, he suicides to not tell everyone that it's Caesar.
I forgot that part.
He jumps out the window while getting ready to be questioned. He's like, no! Then dies. And then Caesar's walking along, being a slave, and then sees him, and he's like, no! And then cries.
Man that was ever nice to me in my life. The only contact I have between
My parents.
life and my parents. The last person that could tell me anything about them. Thanks, buddy.
Anyway.
That's not gonna mess me up at all.
And then he sees the cruelty in mankind and snaps much quicker than.
Wait a minute, hold on. Now, before that.
He also meets this hot chimpanzee.
Okay, no. They've got a breeding program, and so they hook up.
No, they see each other. They see each other before, and they're like, "Ooh, flirty eye." And then they're like, "Well, since we're breeding."
They were breeding together, and he opens the door, and here's this so-called regular chimpanzee. She's domesticated and everything, laying in repose, giving him bedroom eyes. And he just sort of shrugs his shoulders. She's brainless, so what? I'll take her.
Wouldn't you?
No.
If you were the only sentient ape.
Would I start like grabbing goats and dumb animals and stuff? No.
But that's another part of your species. It's your cousin, basically. Wait, I just made that sound a lot more disturbing.
Oh my god. No, not my
I guarantee somehow Caesar created himself by mating with the other ape and the whole takeover. He somehow created his parents.
Oh god.
This is Game of Thrones. Anyway.
No, not enough people died for this to be Game of Thrones.
Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, anyway. So, he snaps much quicker, after having sex, of course, snaps much quicker than Caesar in Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Maybe it's because Caesar in Rise of the Planet of the Apes didn't get any. Maybe that's why he didn't snap as fast. Maybe it was more suppressed. I'm just saying. A PG rated... Maybe that's why it's PG. Implied sex. You need to get implied sex in order to get a PG.
The rating system was different back then. I mean, all the way up into... You could have nudity in PG films all the way up into the 80s.
Yeah. You could also have gremlins' heads being chopped off and burnt alive and... Yeah. Put in the microwave and exploded. A heart being ripped out.
Right, so Caesar
starts an uprising.
He starts having like little union meetings in the basement and stuff.
Where only he talks.
Books and only he talks, and he's...
And they're slowly stealing like knives, and it's very slow. But I feel like it wouldn't actually work. People, like, the staff and everyone would be like, we're missing like 50 knives. We're missing all of our giant chopping knives.
There's so much in this storyline that wouldn't actually work.
But
it's
and then they... Oh, wait, no. Never mind. No, they do, and they do... I feel like the whole stealing guns could work. Because they steal the guns as soon as they start their uprising. I'm skipping all the stuff in between, because it's basically like Caesar is domesticated for the big bad businessman. And so I'm skipping straight ahead to the action. Caesar then starts the uprising. They're like throwing butcher knives at the cops, and then they break into the armory and they're stealing guns and they're shooting people, jumping on their dead bodies, and they're throwing like Molotov cocktails. And there's fire and stuff, and then they're gonna kill the guy. There's this black guy in the entire movie who's like kind of like the speaker for the apes in a way, because he used to be a slave, and he's like, this is wrong because we're basically making them slaves. And then he convinces Caesar to show mercy on this man that would have killed him in seconds.
He gives the battle speech at the end that there could be peace between man and apes.
Yeah. Wait, Caesar or the black guy?
Caesar.
Caesar does say that.
Well, he starts off with a really hooky kind of, I'm going to put the fear of God in you sort of speech. And
we will create our own religions and our own stories, and we will take over. But first, we will show compassion. And then he says, and then he goes, this was the beginning of the Planet of the Apes. And, yeah.
Roll credits.
I thought it was a good film, actually. I thought it was the second best of the series, probably, except for maybe the third. They're kind of tied for me.
Yeah, you have to buy into a lot that within 20 years.
You had to buy into a lot for the Tim Burton one, also.
We're not there yet.
We're almost there.
You got to buy into that quick domestication and the gathering of the weapons and the really quick learning curve for the monkeys to go.
They didn't talk though. It was mostly just like they were already domesticated, so I could see how Caesar would be like, well, I'm just gonna teach them to kill them.
You've seen how hard it is to organize people with the capability of speech.
Yeah.
So having a mob of non-sentient or at least language impaired creatures, you got to suspend your disbelief quite a bit to believe that they can be that well organized and disciplined and all that. But still,
it was a good movie for the time, I would say, compared to some of the other stuff that was coming out in '72.
This is another one that was heavy-handed.
What else came in '72?
With the social commentary. If I can finish one sentence.
What else came in '72? Nothing.
A Boy and His Dog.
Exactly nothing.
Yeah, that might have been 1970.
Conquest was better than A Boy and His Dog.
No, it wasn't.
What do you think it got on Rotten Tomatoes?
I'm going to say 70.
44%.
Really?
Yeah. Not as many people like it. You'd be surprised. I thought it was a really good film. I don't know. I really like Roddy McDowall's version of Caesar. I personally lean more towards Andy Serkis, of course, because he does more with the character. Well, no, he does more with the character without even talking in the first movie.
Am I close enough to the microphone? Can you tell?
Let's look at your waveforms. Talk.
Yada, 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 yada.
Probably not.
Oh, great. Okay, so I've been the whisper in the background for the last 20 minutes.
Good. You were just giving us nothing except for the story.
I'm giving everything.
So, explain to us what Battle of the Planet of the Apes was.
Okay, so now, do I get to say it, or are you going to interrupt?
Hold on, let me just say something real quickly. To me, the second worst in the original series.
What?
Battle for the Planet of the Apes was a pretty bad movie. Anyway, continue.
Okay, so Chimps and Humans.
I blame that on I blame that on budget reasons, though. They said that this was the lowest budget Planet of the Apes movie. Go on.
Okay, so.
Also, did you know? Okay, go on.
This might be the last time you ever hear Dylan on a podcast again.
Oh my god.
Okay. So you've got chimps and humans living together in a commune in a sort of shared area where they share chores, they share responsibilities. Do I have it wrong already?
No, you have it right. I'm going to add something that's very important to the story. Caesar has a child. Okay, go on. Oh, also,
that was going to get worked in. You've got to be patient.
Somehow,
and let this scenario. Listen. Let me finish.
Somehow in 20 years, all the apes have learned how to talk. Okay, go on.
Yeah, the thing is, getting them to shut up, that's the trick.
Okay, go on.
Long enough for, let's say, somebody's father to go ahead and roll out the whole scenario and get to the part where Caesar's the leader and...
This is why Sheldon started playing Pac-Man.
Did you see that? When we listen back to this, I'm going to see if there's one single sentence that I got to complete.
Fine, I'll shut up. I won't talk for the rest of the podcast, if that's what you want.
You can't help it. They've got this hippie commune and stuff. There's a little bit of unrest among the apes and stuff. And that's about as much of the storyline as I can remember. They're trying to teach them
ape shall never kill ape. Anyway.
Is one of the rules.
That's one of the only rules. I don't remember any of the others. Anyway, there's this stupid orangutan that covers all the arms and weaponry.
Oh, yeah, Andy Williams. He was a star in the 70s. And he's actually still around. He was a songwriter. He was also in Smokey and the Bandit.
Won't you let me finish the sentence?
I want to describe. You weren't talking.
I was.
You said you weren't going to talk for the rest of the podcast.
Yeah, but then you looked at me for guidance.
I was going to let you take over the rest of that.
Okay, let me take over for the rest of it. Let me take over for the rest of it then.
Well, let me finish with Andy Williams here.
Who cares about Andy? This is about Planet of the Apes, not when Andy Window. Who cares about him? He plays a minor role. He's in like 2 scenes.
No, he's in more than that.
He says, "Hi, Caesar." And then he goes, "No, you're not allowed in the weaponry because Caesar didn't tell you to. Oh, by the way, Caesar, you're going out on the thing. Here's a pistol to protect yourself from the mutants that are in this movie because they need to build up for the second movie for some reason, even though they totally blow it out of the water because in the end of this one, apes and humans are living together in harmony." And I don't want to talk about this movie any further because it's a pretty bad film.
You're yelling again.
Yeah, I can tell in my voice.
Then you're sweating.
I know. I get really sweaty when I record.
That's disgusting. Okay, so yeah, Andy Williams has a bigger part in it than that, and he's kind of a scumbag.
God. Is he the gorilla or is he the orangutan?
He's the orangutan. Or was the orangutan trying to make peace? I thought he was manipulating things, trying to sow discontent.
No, he was the guy who was like holding the fort while Caesar was gone, and he's like, no, you guys aren't allowed in the military part of this to the gorillas. Anyway, Caesar's child ends up dying because he was overhearing what the gorillas were talking about, which was basically to overthrow Caesar.
And then they blamed his death on humans?
Yeah, or something like that.
Yeah, I remember it was a big setup.
And then he finds out, and then Caesar finds out after the battle between him and the mutants, he finds out that the gorilla warlord had taken over, and the gorilla's like, "Now's our chance, kill Caesar." And all the gorillas are just like, "No, you killed the kid, you can die." And then they have this...
He's revealed at the end to have been the killer.
And then this whole chant starts, "Ape shall never kill ape. He broke the golden rule." And then this big gorilla's scared of this tiny little Caesar, and he's like, "Oh God, I gotta get out of here." He starts climbing the tree. Caesar's chasing after him, and then he trips and falls and dies. And then Caesar's like, "All right, let's keep peace." And then there's a very kind of cheesy shot of the statue of Caesar crying after this whole...
Why is the statue crying?
Because he's happy of peace.
The statue?
Yeah. His spirit is inside the statue, obviously.
All right, I blocked that out.
Yeah, because I remember you going, "That is stupid."
That sounds like me. Yeah, crying statues are stupid.
Some say that it's because he's happy that apes and humans are living in peace. Some say that it's because he can see that there's an inevitable turn coming soon, that the apes will enslave humanity without him.
Dun, 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 dun.
I go for the more happy route, but I mean, if it's a Planet of the Apes film,
but it's still kind of a maudlin ending to it. Another maudlin ending to a ape film. There's no really emotional highs.
I was happy. The jerk dies. Not in a single one of these movies does the jerk die without the good guy dying also.
All right, Caesar lives.
Exactly. So the jerk dies. All right.
Okay, so that wraps up the original series. So that only took about an hour.